Silva, one-time president of Brazil, is being convicted, sentenced to 12 years imprisonment, and people are like complaining why the house is divided. Some choose to insert Lula da Silva as part of their names in their house, while others also, who were among people that convicted Lula da Silva, choose to have surgery also to the name. So it's like, you're on this side, we are on this side. We are in the studio to throw more light on this discourse. I have Honorable Desmond Ubo, a politician, a businessman, one-time local government vice, yes, a local government and as a politician. Talk about local and international politics. He is well grounded. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good afternoon.
I appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much.
And of course, I have a legal practitioner here with me in the studio, Barrister Osahon Osazua. Yeah, he doesn't like talking about local politics. I wonder why that is, but an international plane is very, very vast. And it's surprised also to know that the Honorable Desmond Ubo, yeah, he studied law. He's a legal practitioner also, but I wonder why he's not practicing. Why are you not practicing?
That is a topic for another day.
Topic for another day.
Yeah.
All right, to the topic of today. Lula da Silva, convicted, tried, convicted, sentenced. I don't know. People are like saying what is really happening in Brazil. I want to start off with you, Honorable. What do you feel about this?
It is a good omen. It's a better thing for a country that is out to redefine democracy. The essence of leadership is to give your all to ensure the security of lives and property, guarantee welfare for the people, and all the other way around. The conviction of Lula da Silva is a welcome development, and it's everything that other countries should borrow a lead from, especially when it comes to the discussion of democracy, the provision of the necessary social amenities, and indeed the overall development of a nation. He came as a president, to be precise, in 2003. He was elected, and he did well. In the history of presidency in Brazil, his name is a household name. He came at a time when he rebounded the economy of Brazil, where there were so many practices, and his policies, his approach to the government led to economic growth in Brazil. And that was also the same glory that saw the emergence of Dilma Rousseff, until what he did in the areas of reforming the judiciary, making sure that they are really separated from each other. They act as watchdog, check and balances to themselves, where there are certain areas in the law that concerns corrupt persons who have been allegedly accused of embezzlement, of defrauding the country, of racketeering, bribery, kickback, and so many other vices. He made sure in the amendment to the Constitution of Brazil that once you are found guilty in the first instance judgment, before you go for an appeal, you should be sentenced and be coming from your dungeon to come and prosecute your case. And that we have seen, like somebody who make a law whose law is now haunting him. But to a sane man, it is something that was designed to thoroughly clean the system, no matter who is going to be affected. So the conviction of Lula da Silva should not be viewed as a politically motivated conviction or whatever.
We'll come to that. Whether it's politically motivated or not, because that is what the man is saying. But we'll come to that. Osan, what's your take on this? Because from what he said it's a welcome development. That it's time people start redefining democracy the way it should be.
Thank you very much. Let's look at what is happening today in Brazil. what led to Lula's conviction and what lies at the substratum, that's the bottom of the whole thing. Why the conviction in the first place? Why the unprecedented haste in getting a conviction when over 1,000 persons are also facing trial for the same thing, including the sitting president, Michel Temer, in the Operation Car Wash scandal? Not one single conviction. No, not even those lesser ones that be convicted. But Lula was speedily convicted to prevent him from becoming Brazil's next president, because he has announced he was running for this 2018 election. So we must come to understand that the forces at play today in Brazil are the forces of the elite, who has always been there. Those who, because of their race, because they still have this race issue in Brazil, Lula is of course mixed-race. Those who are white and come from wealthy families, good education, and those, the poor people, the majority poor people who were uplifted from poverty by the policies of Brazil. In the 10 years within 10 years of the Workers' Party coming to power, poverty reduced in Brazil by a whopping 78%. These facts are verifiable. Poverty reduced by 78%. Unemployment almost by 80%. Hunger, 100%. You see, this man was a populist person who was able to affect the lives of each and every Brazilian. And so many persons were not comfortable with the old policy of that introduced the Former Zero and the Bolsa Familiar, that were able to work miracles and take, and people felt threatened. People who have been privileged all their lives, their grandparents had what they call old and ready money. Their parents did, and they also did. So there came a new crop of middle-class Brazilians, people who were formerly poor, who suddenly has risen and who has also acquired education, that threatened the status quo, and they were not comfortable with it. And they also realized that democracy is all about numbers. I tell you something, it will baffle you to know that not until 1988 here, the illiterate could not vote in Brazil. It was Lula that opened the space, and these white persons who have always been educated felt threatened. After the 1988 constitution was adopted, the first election that was held under that constitution was the 1994 election. And we saw that the last election was 20 million people voted, and the 1994 election, almost 60 million people voted. The so-called illiterate, the so-called persons who have been disenfranchised all these years, they came in and they voted for the left. And the right felt threatened. The big businesses felt threatened, and they needed to do something about it. They saw Lula as the centerpiece of this movement. They saw him as the biggest threat to their continued maintenance of power and hegemony, and they needed to do something about him. Hence today, as we speak, he's inside the cell.
Wow. You heard him. He gave an analogy of Brazil before, during Lula da Silva. And of course, talked about the whites or the minority or the rights being threatened, because we have others also that are accused of corrupt practices. Even the seated president of Brazil, Temer, but he has not been convicted. Others also in the right party, they too have skirmishes in their cupboard, but have not been convicted. Why Lula?
Thank you very much. You see, we must start from somewhere. Fighting corruption must start from somewhere. Thank God that is not the first time a former president, or rather a sitting president, has been taken to court or taken through the necessary rudiments of removal. The first president who ruled for 30 years, Carlos, was also impeached. And what led to the impeachment was nothing but corruption scandal. You see, when a country, regardless of their racial differentials, regardless of whether the person occupied the position is a minority extract or a majority extract, the bottom line is that what is bad is bad. Corruption is a headed monster that every country that wants the best for the nation should fight with all sense of belonging. The conviction And now that Lula is in prison, there are a lot of people, because the fact that he has made a name, he has deposited a lot in terms of policy programs during his presidency to impact on the lives of a common Brazilian. Like when we were talking, I was in this studio sometimes in 2014 when we discussed about the re-election of Dilma Rousseff, where we were told we electing and educated the public the various chances of this very lady, and at the end of the day, she won. For a president to go about fighting corruption, and there are verifiable traces of this war against corruption, they should be praised and encouraged. There are countries in Africa continent and even across the world that are fighting corruption, but there is nothing to show for it. Instead, they are like witch hunting. What gave birth to this corruption scandal is their penchant for oil money. Remember, it started with Petrobras. It started in form of a state-owned, state-run oil company, where virtually all the PT, I'm talking about the Worker Party members, have worked in that place before. As we speak, majority of the senior executive members of that oil company are serving their various jail terms, because it was a satellite that was beamed on every Dick and Harry that has worked in that place, have one or two things done in that place. We also saw the Odebrecht, a major construction company in the whole of the Southern America. And this is a company that the so-called Workers' Party, who have been in that corridor of power, has used in contract sums in inflation, what they call over invoicing of contracts. A situation where the oil company will release a huge sums of money supposedly for a contract under that company, whereas the money was meant to be diverted. So all this kickback, before you could get a contract, you will be asked to pay a certain amount of money in order to secure the contract. All these are certain things that kill the system. As I speak with you, about 232 persons are under investigation, because Petrobras, for example, has about 78,000 people working under it. Okay. And if all these are put together, if the right thing is not done to sanitize the various areas where the majority of the money or the sources of income to that country is being collected from. Just like, for example, in Nigeria, the NNPC, people have been clamoring, they have been shouting that money has been stolen. Money has been stolen. Nobody dare come out, even in the presidency, or rather those in the media or whatever, have not come out to pinpoint a particular amount of money that has been stolen. But in this case, the company came out to, in their process of plea bargain, to open up that about $1.6 billion has been shared.
Has been shared. You hold on there. Osaho, the money has been shared. The company came out to own up to it. And fingers were pointed at Lula da Silva and his cohort in court. And they have it on tape. Is this man not guilty?
The other thing they have on tape was when the special prosecutor said Jomoro were taped the conversation between former President Dilma Rousseff and Lula, when they were kind of saying that he wanted to appoint him chief of staff to kind of give him some kind of immunity. You see, the charges for which Lula was convicted are fringed charges.
Fringed in what sense?
They border in a very circumstantial, in the sense that you were the president, you should have known this, you should have known that. That this thing could not have happened without your knowledge. The main players in the whole thing, the several senators, almost half of the Senate sitting today, and including the president today, they were the major players in the Odebrecht and the Petrobras stuff, and nothing has happened to them. And we see this trial that for a country known for its tardiness in the judicial system, a country that has the world record for slow motion in the judicial process, all the records were suddenly broken when it came to Lula, and they got a conviction in a world record time. One begins to wonder what the ace and why the aim. One begins to think that the world is not really, we are not as civilized as we all pretend to be. That the forces of that the money forces, the forces of capitalism are so strong that they broker no opposition. They don't want to see you come near them. They don't want you to take the table of the privilege of them, and they do something about it. We must see that yes, let's fight corruption, and let me tell you something very importantly. You see, in Brazil today, or Brazil is in 1960, the way the government is run is so difficult to separate big business from government, to separate the running of a state from the running of the corporation of the state, especially Petrobras. So difficult. So things happen, and the normal thing, just like it also happens here, is that there are always kickbacks. It has been a kind of norm that even the average Brazilian knows this exists amongst us. It is the way business is done there. It is the way they carry on. It is their way of life.
Is that not corruption?
You call it corruption. It is what they have all come. It is what all politicians in Brazil is what they have all come to know and to do to some variable extent. That's that. So when you begin to see the special way Lula was treated, a man who is so popular that even the former American President Barack Obama said that he's the most popular politician of his time. And the highly revered British writer Perry Anderson said that that Lula is the most successful politician of his generation. This is a person who has gotten credible track record. Someone who was able to lift almost half of Brazil from poverty. Let me tell you something very nice about the Bolsa Familia. This was a policy that introduced, that ensured that, look, one, each and every Brazilian not only go to bed with food in their stomach, but they also get a certain allowance from government, provided that their children spend some minimum hours in school every day, provided that children get vaccination. So you see this short-term monetary policy that encourages, that gives you food today, and also ensure that in the long run, your family comes out from poverty because of the education that is tied to this short-term money they will give you every day. And it worked miracles. So many graduates came out from the poor people who couldn't and wouldn't have thought that their children would have gone to school through that policy. And so many forces were not comfortable with it because it was breaking their hegemony on power. It was threatening the future of themselves and the children who they have lined up the choice position in government for. Because people were coming from underground and they were not comfortable with it. So these are things that have happened and continue to happen today. There's a titanic battle going up in Brazil today for the soul of the poor. Because Brazil is a country that is highly classified. It's a class state. We have the very rich and the very poor.
Right.
Until Lula came.
Until Lula came.
So, and people want to maintain that status. Hold on. That there's a very rich and there's a very poor.
You've not answered one question. The practices this man was fingered for getting involved with, are they corrupt practices or not, according to normal stand?
I will answer you. You see, the great Professor
No law terms here. Yes or no.
Let me tell you something, what somebody said.
Yes.
That our conception of justice, the way we have come to know what is good and what is bad, our conception of justice must be justified by the conditions of our life, or they are not justified at all. It is what we have come to know, what we have been doing all this while that justified the way. In Brazil, it is normal practice.
Is it corruption?
And what he was fingered for is not something that was even directly linked to
corruption?
him. I don't know what you would call it.
Speaking like a law, like a legal practitioner.
If it was a normal practice,
yeah,
which become part of their daily activities, routine, habit, call it whatever names, how come the same country law or the same country constitution has outlawed such practices, which is commonly known as just normal practices? But however, the question here is that, is he guilty as a president, having been involved in what now become the very instrument they use in nailing him, corruption-wise? What is bad is bad. What is good is good. So I think for me, I don't believe that a political party will build the party ideology around one person. Remember, the person that's supposed to have succeeded Lula was involved in the earlier corrupt saga that saw a lot of the Workers' Party members were fingered, and they have been enmeshed in this corruption saga. What I am sure that is the normal thing for PT members to be doing now is to engage in mentoring, though it's too late. If Lula has mentored a lot of people within the party structure, the idea of now coming to contest again, though the constitution so allow it, that if at all you spend 2 terms concurrently, 2 terms, then you can go just like on vacation, allow another person to run and come back again, which the law so permit. And that is the reason why he said he wants to run. Because of the popularity of Lula, who will dare contest with him and win the primaries?
And here comes a question.
Not just the primaries.
Hold on. Now here comes a question for you. You are saying that yes, he's guilty.
Yes.
Don't forget that we have allegations also against the President Telma,
yes,
and the House of Parliament members also in the right party. Why this speedy dispensation of justice on Lula, thereby putting a kind of a pending or a restriction, so to speak, for further conviction or trial of other serving members in the right party, including Telma? Is it not politically motivated? Why now?
When you say it is politically motivated,
It's a question. I didn't say so.
I will say, yes, when we look at the political permutation ahead of 2019 general election, and we are in 2018, and the processes to the election has started. So the opposition will also catch in on whatever is befalling PT.
So you say it's politically motivated
to come to power.
So it is politically motivated.
I don't want to say yes or no. But
It's
the scenario will inform you.
You are beginning to answer like Osanhon. He never wanted to say yes or no in one aspect. You two, you're not saying yes or no.
Because I don't want to go.
Questions.
See, I don't want to go straight to say it is politically motivated.
Because Lula said
why the
it
timing?
is politically motivated.
Because the processes started since 2014. It wasn't just yesterday. For a process that was determined to investigate some corrupt officers, and it started since 2014, and that also cost Dilma Rousseff her position. The same problem. And now people are beginning to now say it is politically motivated. Okay, let us see how the opposition will maneuver using the present situation to make gains for their political party. But one thing is clear: even those in the opposition party, some of them have been fingered. Some of them are not in the good book of the Brazilian. So one thing we must expect here is that the system that I'm giving kudos to is the system that seems to fight corruption, no going back.
Fighting
because
corruption.
in other climes, you see people fighting corruption that involve some caliber or personalities. They stop it midway and begin to bring in another national diversionary event or happening in order to shut the case just like
I
that.
would want to give example of such nation because
It's happening under
hold on now, because I know where you're going to. You just hold on. You just hold on now.
Okay.
From what you're saying, do you want to admit if it's corruption or not? Do you think it's selective in the sense that what is good for the goose is good for the gander? And the same stick with which you used to measure for one person in a particular political party should be used to measure also for another person in a different political party. Is that the idea trying to paint here?
Of course, of course. You see, since I started hearing about witch hunting, about selective justice, about persecution while prosecuting, I have not seen a more glaring example than what has happened recently in Brazil. That's the truth. I don't know why half of the Senate and the President and all that have been fingered by Sergio Moro, who of course is a conservative person. He has refused to go after his colleagues. He is very comfortable with fighting the left side of Brazil, while leaving the right side, the big money and his friends and his cohorts, and he has done nothing about it. I also don't know why a system that it takes an average like 6 to 10 years to do a conviction, you will not get a conviction in few months when it came to Lula da Silva. I have not seen before. And today, you see, Brazilians today are beginning to reflect on the conditions of their life. That be the poor and the colored people in Brazil that begin to ask themselves some existential questions: what is the worth of their blood, and what is the worth of their lives compared to the very white people. They are beginning to reflect on the conditions of their life, in the sense that somebody who came and brought the light to them could be so treated, could be so humiliated, to send a message to the rest of them: don't dare dream. Dream, but don't dream of another Lula. Lula was a mistake that will never happen again. That your place is in the kitchen, like we were told here, that a place belongs to
watch your language. What we're not told that here. We were not told that our place in the kitchen here. So please, we have to refrain.
So that is the language that the powers that be in Brazil, that the entrenched forces in Brazil are telling the weak and those who are dreaming, those who were taken from abject poverty by the Bolsa Familia policy, those who were shown the way to literacy by the former zero policy, those who were shown the light by the very illuminous Lula da Silva, that look, your life could be worth something far more than you have ever dreamt of. All you need to do is to dream big. And they dreamed big, and Lula showed them the way, and they followed him. So the message is being sent to them clearly that, look, it will never happen again. That your place is not here. That you can go and play football somewhere. That you can dream of making your mark somewhere, but not in Brazilian politics, not in Brazilian policies. That you should try and reframe the way you think and retract and go back to where you are coming from. So the message is being sent, and they are reflecting as I speak today, what do we do next when our champion could be so humiliated, be so beaten, and could be locked up by these entrenched forces? They are asking themselves today, how can we break these chains? How can we break this circle? Allah is talking from prison, telling them, look, if I cannot run, there is somebody, there is a former mayor of Sao Paulo, you can rally around him. He can take you there to the dream place.
We'll and there are certain, the mayor of Sao Paulo, you just hold on.
And there are certain things that are happening, and these forces of these very retrogressive forces who throughout history have not been comfortable with breaking their entrenched interests. They are not really happy, and they have won as I speak today in Brazil.
All right, now from what he's saying right off what he just said, it's like the class war is going on in Brazil. Because take a look at what happened in the house after the arrest of Lula da Silva. The right choose to attach Sergio to their name, while the left Lula's party choose to attach Lula to their name. Is it a class war?
That is pure class struggle. They are just struggling to tell each other that yeah, we are in charge, or we are majority, or we are more on ground than you. But let me tell you, the message has been sent. Accepting all that they are accusing Lula of, that is an innocent. Let the court decide that. As I speak with you, the Silva, that Silva also have the chance now to appeal, even while he's in prison. While the appeal is going on, he will be serving his prison term. But let me add here that before they arrive at that conviction, it took them painstaking analysis, comparing notes, citing references, as far as the law of that land.
Within how many months compared to at least a year or two?
Unlike America's Supreme Court, where when Supreme Court judges are delivering judgment, you don't show them. In the case of Brazil, they were all televised live, and they were asked to give reasons why they are in support or against. 11 judges were involved. It was 5-5 at the beginning. But the last person that came to make the difference was a lady, and she said that if we set Lula free, it will close the door to the imprisonment of those that are indicted by this operation car wash of a thing. So what that means is that there are a lot of people who have been indicted, who have been fingered, investigation has revealed same, and there are verifiable evidences.
But nobody seems to be touching the right wing right now.
So that is politics for you. But let me also tell you, what goes round comes round. If the rightists, they are on board now, victimizing or witch hunting their opposition members, it will come to the chatting. Tema hands are dirty. That is the reason why it cannot come authoritatively to question the semi-lopsided approach to the prosecution of Lula.
Now, you are admitting to the fact that it's lopsided.
You see,
you are also admitting to the fact that we have politics in this judgment. You're also admitting also the fact that is a witch hunt.
It's witch hunting. You know, when it comes to politics, involving politicians, there must be a kind of interest. Those who are against, those who are in support and all that. The whole idea is how to scheme to remain on top.
So it's politically motivated.
So I don't want to use the word.
That's what you're saying right now.
No, I don't want to use it, but let us analyze it, and you now have an informed conclusion.
No, you'll be the one to like
whether it was politically motivated or it was in line with the norms of the Brazil.
All right, now take a look at the people. They were agitated. They came out in mass to say, we don't like this judgment, we don't like this proceeding. Give us back our Lula. Do you see it escalating beyond this measure? Don't forget also that when the Marusov was in power, there was this massive protest. Well, I said it was organized by the right against her. Do you see a massive protest against Telma because of what is happening right now in Brazil? The masses, so to speak, or the left wing, so to speak, or the downtrodden, so to speak, of the poor, so to speak, want their Messiah, Lula da Silva, to run for the presidency come next year, 2019.
Yes, thank you. I will answer you. Before I do, let me quickly quote Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said that the moral arc of the universe is long, but ultimately it bends towards justice. And he also said, while quoting a poet, James Lowell, that truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne, yet that scaffold sways the future. That behind the dim unknown stands a God within the shadows, bearing watch over his own. What am I saying? What was he talking about? That ultimately the forces of darkness might seem to prevail, so to speak. Forces of darkness, they might seem to win the day.
Hold on. In this case,
yes,
those are the forces of darkness.
Like what is happening in Brazil today, when you see someone who has given his heart, his all to his people. You see, I have always thought, and I have always argued, that the main reason for government is for the people, is to make a tangible change in their lives. to take them from point A to point B, something that is demonstrable, something that is seen. You make a difference in their lives. You touch them. That's why government exists. So you see someone who was able to make a practical difference in the lives of his people. Not one, not two. Millions of persons were elevated. I have not seen it anywhere. Ask any political theorists, they will agree. That's why they say Lula is the most successful politician of his generation. It has not happened to see a single person who was able to think out policies that were able to demonstrably turn his people's life around. He did it, and they should have celebrated him. They should have built statues for him all over Brazil, from Recife to Bolo to Sao Paulo, everywhere in Brazil. But what do we have today? Because he stepped on so many people's toes, just like Delano Roosevelt did when he introduced his various policies that we have, that the Americans enjoy today, that have to do with social security. You have to make strong elements. And that's why Democrats one day put up a big banner of him and say, we love him for all the elements he made. When you are doing these things, when you are bringing policies that affect the people's life, you make strong elements, because you affect big businesses. You affect the strong capitalists who think it is not the business of the state to cater for the poor. Let them bow before the altar of money. That's how they think. So if a government comes that want to make the difference, that want to take people from poverty, they are not comfortable with it. And today we have Lula in jail. It's an indictment of, it shows wickedness, if you ask me, that someone who did this for his people. That's why they keep turning out today. They keep, when he was going to prison, before he gave it, you saw his crowd away. They wanted to go to prison with him. These are not hired crowd, the sort that we have. These people who have been touched by the policies of Lula. They want to go to jail with him. They want to go there and mess the whole place up. But he said no. He willingly surrendered himself. Like, let me give you something again. Do you know that the first time they invited him for questioning, when the prosecutor Moro invited him for questioning, he said, let's say tomorrow by 8 I'll be there. They have agreed. The next thing that happened was that Sergio he came with a commando style. He raided his place and quickly arrested him. Someone who had not, just to make a point, that was just to humiliate him. He just came and he bundled him, and just, when they already agreed. So there's this long history, there's this animosity that they don't like him, because he broke so many grants, he took so many privileges from them, and he empowered so many people. They don't just like him.
All right, you're going to have the last say on this. He said something. This conviction of mine, according to Lula Silva, is politically motivated, but I will submit myself to the law. What does it tell you of Silva?
The man is a great man. He has demonstrated it. Even when he chooses not to submit himself, he may have been informed or advised by supporters. But when he realized that going into hiding is not the issue, I better come out and surrender myself. The man has done well. There are testimonies to that effect. But that is not to say that it's above the law. We are talking about the law here. Is that what the law says? That he has done well as a president and is above the law? That those things he did when he was in the office, as any things he did with impunity, that is above all? All these are certain things we must look at. Yes, politically motivated, as you may call it, because of the timing, because of the personalities that are involved, because of the seeming suspicious approach by Moro. Because if you look at it, yes, he may want to use Lula to score political points and to further bury PT as a political party, so that his own party can now come and reign supreme. But all that we are saying, all that he has done, are they in line with the law of the land? Those are the saving grace that we are expecting for Lula. If those things were trumped up, those charges were trumped up, the idea is just to humiliate him, is to bring all that he has done to ruin. Let the law says yes or no. On the part of the populace, even when he was going to, they took him on helicopter to, what's it called, where Kiribita, where he was being kept. A lot of people slept outside and they were demanding that they will remain outside until he is released.
Right.
Little did they know that, yes, the idea of supporting a particular man, yes, he has done well.
Okay.
But this one is about a man who has been figured to have been corrupt.
Okay.
So let others who are coming learn. Even though you are coming as a president and you have such good plans for the people, don't steal the people's money.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I know you want to say something, but our time is up. You can hear the signal from the PD. Our time is up. We're just watching to know what will happen next. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. Our cameras are zoomed in on Brazil. 12 years, can he appeal? Will he be released? If yes, can he still run for the presidency 2019? If no, do you think that the left party in Brazil stand a chance come next year? From me, it's goodbye for now.